Stoic warrior. We live in a world where people constantly strive to prove themselves. They prove they're right. They prove their worth. They explain, over-explain, even beg just to be seen. But a Stoic doesn't do this. A Stoic doesn't chase attention. A Stoic doesn't seek validation. A Stoic doesn't justify himself to the world, for he knows silence holds true power. Most men, when hurt, rejected, or misunderstood, rush to fix things, chasing those who've already chosen not to understand. That's weakness masquerading as courage. You call someone, and they don't answer. You text again. You send another message, pouring your heart into a long paragraph, hoping they'll see your worth. But the truth is, the more you explain, the more you beg, the more power you surrender. That's not Stoic. Men like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus mastered the strength of silence, not because they didn't care, but because they understood the more you chase what's beyond your control, the more control you lose. Epictetus said it best: when you seek others' attention or beg for understanding, you hand over your power. You say, "My peace depends on their response." That's not peace. It's a prison. True strength is walking away without a word when disrespected. It's not pride, it's dignity that doesn't need to shout. It doesn't chase. It doesn't explain. It quietly withdraws. This silence isn't empty. It's discipline. It's self-respect. It's an inner strength that says, "I don't need your validation to know my worth." And this silence unnerves others. When you don't react, they lose the control they thought they had over you. Today, let's explore the kind of silence that builds strength, not weakness. The silence that makes others wonder, what's changed? The silence that lets your absence speak louder than any words you could send. We'll unpack 6 profound truths, 6 reasons why silence is a Stoic superpower, and why those who practice it never chase, beg, or explain themselves. If you're tired of giving too much, if you've been misunderstood, if you've chased someone who walked away, this is your moment to shift. Let this message be the reminder you didn't know you needed. Before we dive into the first point, do me a small favor. Like this video if it resonates with you. Share your thoughts and affirmations in the comments as you watch. Pass this video to someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe for more Stoic wisdom. Don't skip any part of this video. 1 idea. 1. Truth could change how you live forever. I want you to leave this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my strength. First, silence makes them feel your absence, not just hear your words. Have you ever noticed this strange truth? When you stop explaining, stop chasing, people start to reflect. That's the paradox of silence. It doesn't push, it pulls. Think back to the last time you were hurt. Maybe someone ignored you, disrespected you, or turned their back. Your instinct screamed to speak up, to defend your worth, to fight back. But the more you speak, the less they hear. The more you chase, the further they drift. The more you explain, the less your words matter. Yet, when you choose silence, they suddenly feel your absence more than your presence ever could. Those who can't grasp your silence likely won't value your words. Elbert Hubbard said it well. A Stoic silence unsettles others in ways noise never can. By not reacting, by withdrawing instead of begging, you force them to face their own actions. Silence is a mirror. It says, "I see how you treated me. but I value myself enough not to explain. This silence isn't ego, it's clarity. You know if they cared, they'd ask. If they respected you, they'd reach out. If they were emotionally mature, they wouldn't need a long explanation to see your worth. So, you choose silence. In that silence, you reclaim the power you once gave away. You stop wasting energy on those who don't even understand themselves. You stop healing with words, because some wounds heal better in silence. It's not easy. Your silence will provoke them. It will confuse them. They'll wonder, why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he responding? Has he stopped caring? That's when the power shifts. Because silence speaks a truth they can't ignore. You don't owe them an explanation. Not anymore. Second, silence lets you hear the truth more clearly. The world is loud, but silence lets you listen not to others, but to yourself. When pain, betrayal, or confusion hits, most men seek answers from others, friends, social media, or even the one who hurt them, hoping a conversation will fix the wrong. But a Stoic chooses a different path. He stays silent, not because he doesn't feel the pain, but because he knows the real answers come from reflection, not noise. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. In silence, your mind finds calm. In that calm, truth rises. You hear things like, 'They never truly respected me. I just didn't want to admit it. I'm not angry they left. I'm angry I stayed too long. I don't need closure. I need peace.' These truths don't come from texts or talks. They come in the quiet hours when you stop explaining and start listening. Silence gives you space to separate your emotions from your worth. When hurt, your emotions scream. Chase them. Explain yourself. Prove your value. But in silence, your worth whispers. Protect your dignity. Guard your peace. Let go. That's why Stoics don't act in anger. They embrace the sacred pause before the storm. Society tells you to speak your mind, to share your feelings, to never let disrespect slide. But here's what most misrespect isn't won by shouting louder. It's earned by staying calm in silence while others are lost in noise. The quieter you are, the more others reveal their true nature. You don't need to ask, do they care? Their actions will answer. You don't need to beg for clarity. The truth shines in your silence. Most importantly, you stop reacting on impulse and start responding to life with wisdom. Silence isn't passive. It's focused. It's intentional. It's the gateway to inner wisdom few dare to cross. So, when you're overwhelmed, when emotions flood in, don't act rashly. Be still. The answers aren't out there, they're within you, and you'll hear them in silence. Third, begging for closure betrays your own strength. Let's face a hard truth. Most avoid begging for closure, often brings more pain, not peace. We all crave it, that final explanation, that honest talk, that sense of completion. But the harsh reality is this: if someone truly cared, you wouldn't need to beg for closure. They'd offer it with respect. If they don't, your silence is the answer. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That might not seem to fit, but here's how it applies when you stop chasing closure and live your values. You no longer need others to validate your pain. Your pain is real. but needing them to explain why they hurt you hands them control over your healing. Here's the cycle. 1. They hurt you. 2. You demand answers. 3. They respond with coldness or avoidance. 4. You feel worse. And the cycle repeats until you realize closure isn't something they give. It's something you grant yourself by staying silent and walking away. It's tempting to think, if I tell them how I feel, if I explain my side, if I have that final talk, things will be right. But what really happens is you're pleading with someone who's already chosen to hurt you. You're explaining to someone who's made their choice. You're wasting energy, hoping they'll fix your broken expectations. That's not closure, it's self-betrayal. Stoic philosophers knew emotions can cloud judgment, especially when ego gets involved. You want to be seen as good, understood, or validated, but chasing that betrays your own growth. True closure comes when you accept that what they gave is all they could offer. You realize no explanation will make them respect, love, or be more honest. You stop waiting for a conversation that won't happen. In that acceptance, your power returns. The one who hurt you doesn't need to understand your worth. You do. The one who left doesn't need to say goodbye. You can say it without words. The one who vanished doesn't need a second chance. Your silence is their answer. So, stop drafting unsent letters. Stop rehearsing the perfect speech. Stop seeking closure from those who were never open. Be silent, and let that silence be the space where your self-respect breathes again. 4th, silence reveals what words try to hide. When you stay silent, something powerful happens. Masks fall. Words can be beautiful, but they can also lie. People say what sounds good, what they think you want to hear. They use explanations, excuses, apologies. But silence cannot lie. What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't judge people by apologies, but by their habits. The best way to see those habits clearly is to stop talking and watch. Silence isn't passive, it's keen observation. When you stop explaining yourself, you let others reveal their true selves. Trust me, they will. Those who respect you will feel your presence and reach out with sincerity. Those who used you will vanish. They never valued you to begin with. Those who manipulated you will grow angry or confused, not because you did wrong, but because they lost control. Most don't realize this. Words can create illusions. Silence exposes truth. You don't need to confront or challenge them. Step back and observe. See who reaches out when you're silent. See who disappears when you stop giving. Notice who gets angry when they can't provoke a reaction. That's the truth. Brutal but necessary. Sometimes, silence stings more than 1,000 arguments. People can dismiss your words, but they can't deny your absence. They can argue with your point, but not with your stillness. By staying silent, you stop fueling their illusions. You stop playing their emotional games. You stop pretending their words outweigh their actions. That silence brings you clarity. You no longer need others to explain why they treated you poorly. Silence, distance, and their actions say it all. You start trusting patterns over promises, energy over explanations. You value what's real, not empty words. That's the Stoic way, not cold, but clear, not indifferent, but awake, not unfeeling, but emotionally disciplined. Next time someone tries to talk their way back into your life, don't rush to respond. Observe, stay silent, and let the truth speak without words. Fifth, refusing to explain yourself is the ultimate act of confidence. Let's be honest, when someone misunderstands you, it hurts. You want to defend yourself, to explain why you're not what they think. You want to say, "That's not me." But a Stoic doesn't chase others' understanding. He finds it within himself. Why? Because explaining to those who've already judged you isn't confidence, it's fear of being misjudged. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have no need to waste the rest of your life speculating about others, unless it's for the common good." Think about that. Every time you try to convince someone of your worth, your goodness, or your loyalty, you're spending precious time and energy on their judgment. That's not strength, it's insecurity. The man who doesn't explain isn't arrogant. He's at peace, knowing his intentions are pure. His actions are consistent. His worth doesn't need explaining to those who refuse to see it. This level of detachment isn't easy. You'll be called cold. You'll be labeled selfish. You may lose people you once held close. But consider this. Losing those who never truly understood you isn't a loss. It's alignment. Here's a truth. Few admit most people don't want to understand you. They want to control how others perceive you. If your silence shatters that illusion, they'll get angry. Not because you hurt them, but because you stopped playing their game. When you stop explaining, you lead with your energy. You don't justify your distance. You don't explain your withdrawal. You don't defend your peace. You simply act. And those who truly belong in your life will understand your silence without needing subtitles. This energy is rare. It unsettles manipulators, discourages users. But those who stay respect you deeply for never lowering your worth to fit their misunderstandings. This is the silence of a gentleman calm, unshaken, not loud or pleading, but resolute. You owe no one an explanation for choosing peace. You don't need to convince anyone your boundaries are valid. Your silence says it all. Sixth, letting go in silence is the lesson they need most. There's unique power in choosing to walk away, not in anger, not with drama, but with quiet release. You don't slam the door. You don't send a final emotional message. You simply step back. In that silence, you teach a lesson words can't convey. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This reminds us that true pain comes when your mind replays the silence. When you stop responding, they're left with their thoughts, their guilt, the echo of how you treated them, and the weight of your absence. Your letting go says, "I no longer need to prove myself to you." It says, "I won't stay where I'm not respected." I value peace over any relationship. Most people can't handle this energy. They're used to others reacting, begging, fighting for closure, or crumbling to be heard. But when you choose silence, you stop playing that emotional game. You walk away with dignity, and your silence forces them to face themselves. They expect you to chase, to fight, to stay. They expect you to return, but you don't. And that terrifies them more than any argument, because they realize they no longer control your energy. They lose their leverage. They didn't expect you to truly leave. That's when the lesson begins. People don't learn from words. They learn from distance. They don't change when you shout, "Respect me." They might change when your absence shows them what they've lost. And if they don't, that's okay. The lesson isn't for them, it's for you. You learn that peace doesn't need anyone's permission. You realize not everyone deserves your explanation. Sometimes, silence isn't just strength, it's healing. By detaching in silence, you free yourself from toxic cycles. You stop bleeding for those who can't understand your pain. You stop explaining storms to those who only live indoors. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care too much about your soul to keep it in a neglected space. That's why Stoics don't react hastily. They don't chase justice or seek validation. They let silence speak for them. You don't need to shout, "I'm done." You just walk away with resolve. That's true strength. That's the silence that makes those who thought they controlled you tremble. So don't fear detachment. Be silent. And let them sit in the void where your voice once was. If you've made it this far, you feel it, a shift stirring within you. A quiet realization. A truth you always knew, but may have forgotten along the way. You don't need to chase, beg, or explain yourself to be worthy. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You don't need to prove your point to be understood. This is the heart of Stoicism, not coldness, but clarity, not withdrawing from love, but from chaos. Stoics teach us something powerful. Silence isn't weakness, it's mastery. It's refusing to waste energy on things beneath you. It's the confidence that your presence has value, even when you're no longer there. There will be moments when emotions try to take over, when you'll feel the urge to explain, argue, or prove yourself. In those moments, remember this: your silence may not win the argument, but it will bring you back to yourself. Each time you choose not to react, you build inner peace. Every time you quietly withdraw, you strengthen your self-worth. Every time you hold your dignity, you build a strength no one can steal. If there's one thing to take from this, it's this: let your silence be your final word, not out of ego or resentment, but from a deep, unshakable self-respect. Thank you for watching. If this touched your soul, like it now. Share it with someone ready to grow. Leave your affirmations in the comments. Your voice matters here. Subscribe for more Stoic truths each week. I want you to leave this final affirmation below. My silence is my final word and my greatest strength.